we're closed again with COVID, but you can stay. We're going live right now.
And you are on now.
And I am on, they tell me. Good morning. Good morning. So welcome to all of our first timers. Well, actually, the sanctuary is almost empty, but I know that there's a lot of first timers out there on live stream. So welcome to all of you. And I guess I don't have to ask you to turn off your cell phones and no texting during service, although I can't see you, so I guess you're all right. So good morning, everybody. Jules and I were saying it was too quiet in here, so we were blasting music for a half hour, and we were singing and dancing, and we were having a really good time. So good morning, and I know that it's a little cloudy out there, but you know what? Here's what I discovered in my gratitude this morning was that we don't have fires, and we don't have earthquakes, and we don't have hurricanes. So even though it may get a little cold here, let's be in gratitude for all the good things that don't happen, the bad things that don't happen to us, and all the good things. So we shovel a little snow. It's okay. I'm thinking that I'm in the right and perfect place, and so are you. So good morning again. So our vision, a spiritual community of love, peace, and acceptance, and this is the truth. And our mission, creating an inclusive spiritual community through fellowship, service, and community outreach. And in part of that, we have some things that we do every week, and one of them is to read the daily word. So this morning when I was journaling, I was saying that my heart was opening and that I was feeling an expansion within, and this is part of that healing process that's actually going on right now. So instead of opening up my reflection book and opening to a page to see what the world wanted me to know today, I opened to Daily Word and I said, Daily Word, what do I need to know today about opening my heart? I opened the page to Thursday, October 22nd, and it says, I give with a full heart. Now, that excites me. Now, why does that excite me? It excites me because when we start to heal and when we get more in tune with our higher consciousness and we allow ourselves to be in the world but not of it, we are continually getting answers from Spirit. So my sharing today of the daily word is, I give with a full heart. Listen to this. I share the work of my hands and the love of my heart generously. I am eager to find a way to share my blessings with others. My gifts do not have to be monetary or material. In the best gifts, in fact, are kind words, loving thoughts, and compassionate actions, such as volunteering for an organization that touches my heart, visiting a neighbor, teaching a child, or serving in my spiritual community. My love finds expression through giving as I keep my mind focused on God and open to divine ideas. I invite good into my life and I'm guided in ways to share it. As I pray, I receive the goodness of God in full measure, and I am a conduit of blessings to the world. I live with the spirit of joy as I give. And from Corinthians 2, 9-11, you will be enriched in every way for your great generosity, which produces thanksgiving to God through us. If that wasn't something that I needed to read today that fulfilled the ending of my journaling, I don't know what was. So right now, as soon as Jules gives me the flames of faith, maybe they're over here. And they are right here. Right now, sorry about that. Right now, I'd like to ask Jules if she would please light the unity candle and then light the flames of faith.
I light the Christ candle to remind us of the light within each of us. It is the power by which we live, move, and have our being.
So our flames of faith, we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life which acknowledges that all people and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. So as Jules lights the first candle, we light a candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the last candle that we light a candle for all those who are yet unaware of the power and the presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them at this center, and for all religions unnamed in this ceremony. Thank you, Jules. Oh, so we're still in our series, Creating a World That Works for All, week 5, the revolution. And that sounds pretty scary, and you go, what is she talking about now? But as we've discussed today, today's world does not work for all. I mean, pretty much everyone agrees with that. It seems to be controlled by working for people at the top of the social economic ladder, and who prefer to keep it that way, with us, here and then there. So my inspiration for this fall program, there's a difference between intention and inspiration. It's funny, the board will laugh because we went from my resisting goals because I wanted to have intentions, and now I'm finding that even intentions don't work because intentions come from the head and inspiration comes from the divinity within. So my inspiration then for this fall program is for us to become spiritually and emotionally aware of what drives us and what has led us to creating this system that we're in right now, and how we could move closer toward a world that works for all. This will require a change, and not only for our society, but a change in ourselves. Some of you have been tired of hearing this. This is good. That means you're listening. So we have to change not only our society, but we have to change something within ourselves. So I want to bring you up to speed for some of you that may have missed a week here or there, what we've covered so far, and then talk about what Sharif calls revolution that is emerging as we continue to create a world that works for all. So in week 1, we talked about breakers, menders, and keepers, which are the 3 primary elements of consciousness that affect our functioning and the functioning of our society. So the key here is elements of consciousness. It is not that anyone in this book or in Unity or myself are pointing fingers and saying, you're a breaker and thank God you're a mender and you're indigenous or you're a keeper. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying there's a consciousness, our responsibility for what's going on in our world right now. And we have all 3 of those within us. Sometimes we're breakers, sometimes we're menders, and sometimes we're keepers. So each has different values that we honor and live by depending on our circumstances. Then in week 2, I spoke about the mess. Now this really rattled some nerves because the mess was created not by you or you, but by the breaker consciousness. That we are separate, that we're separate from God, separate from one another, and separate from the earth. It's the consciousness that allows me not to treat my neighbor as myself. It's all about me. That if I'm okay, I win, and that's all that matters. Not about you, or you, or you. It's about me. So the mess then talks about the number of deaths from opioids. That's what we've created in the mess. The number of social economical disparity. Jules and I were speaking this morning about how many people right here in Sheboygan are being evicted because they can't pay their rent. This is not right. The mass shootings, the number of mass shootings is a part of this mess. On the news, they were speaking about having open schools and having them outside, and then they said they can't do that because it's an open ground for shooting. How sad that this is happening in our society right now. The mess is the number of teen suicides, not to mention adult suicides. And I don't even want to go into global climate change right now, but that's part of what the mess is. That was week 2. That's what we spoke about. In week 3, we talked about bringing the gap between ourselves and the other. And when we can do that, we clean up the mess. It's that simple. Recognizing that each of us represents the other to someone. If I don't know your culture, let's say that our dearly beloved and still alive Jorge invites us to his house for a Mexican dinner. And they have all these certain foods that we've never had because it's not part of our culture, and different rituals, different music. So that is the other. But when we get invited into the culture of the other, then we understand it and they're no longer the other. And this is what we have to do. We have to begin to understand all people and take the time. Read a book about different cultures. Watch some of the documentaries on the TV instead of the murders and all of that stuff. Learn about other people, and then they're no longer the other. And then we talked about last week moving from an exclusive society to an inclusive society. And the inclusive society welcomes our differences and recognizes the unique differences as the values and gifts that we bring to the whole. Last week, we went into our own deeper breaker consciousness, talking about removing our blinders and see what our role is in all of this. One of the things that I would ask you to think about this week is when you're in anger or anxiousness or depressed or confusion about everything that's happening, ask yourself, what part did I play in this? Where is my responsibility? And every time you talk against the government, political parties, your neighbor, you are being responsible for the energy that's going out in the world. So how do you change your words? How do you change your actions? How do you change your thoughts? See, we have opinions and we have choices to make here. We have big choices to make here. So to continue to say, we either continue and sustain the mess, or we address the mess and the fears and the divisions that separate us. We have to be the change we wish to see in the world. So that's where we was. Today, we talked about ants and a couple of other creepy crawly things. Today we're going to talk about rabbits. This has been a journey through the little bit of the insect and animal world. So we're going to talk about today Rabbit Island. In 1776, a British explorer named Captain Cook landed on Kerguelen Island in the Indian Ocean, which is approximately the size of Connecticut. So one of the things that he did on the island was release some rabbits because he thought it would provide fresh meat for any sailors that would follow. The island was covered in grasses and the rabbits had no natural predators. So in a very short time, they overpopulated the island. We all know about rabbits. So now if Dirk were here, he would be laughing. So I hear you laughing at home, Dirk. So there were hundreds and thousands, perhaps millions of rabbits eating every blade of grass until there was no more grass. And guess what? All the rabbits died. The rabbits destroyed the island grasses and then destroyed themselves by overpopulation and consumption. They didn't know to limit their reproduction or put caps on consumption. They were blind to what they were doing to the environment. Their behavior is then reflected in the breaker consciousness of a world that works for only me. They believed that the grass would be there forever, and they could always do what rabbits do, populate. Thank you for laughing, Jules. Our human population has doubled in my lifetime or more. I don't know. I didn't figure it out. And given the current rate of growth is expected to double again, we are multiplying and consuming like rabbits with no predators. And as if our planet Earth's resources are inexhaustible. If you were to visit Kerguelen Island today, you will discover no grass, no rabbits. But the question then is, what will we leave to our grandchildren? What will we leave to our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren if we keep consuming without care? One of the points that Sharif makes in the book is that our trajectory is not set, but it's highly impacted by culture. And that's what I was speaking about when I was talking about Jorge inviting us for this wonderful Mexican dinner and day at his home. So it's not that, even in religion, it's not that we're a Christian, we're Jewish, we're Hindu, whatever. It's that we are in a culture of that. It's our conditioning. We either grew up in that or we chose to investigate and become that. But the thing is, it's not our identity. Our identity is in the void, in the gap, in the place where spirit lives. So an example he provides in the book is, do we consider insects be food or pest? So as in grasshoppers are a delicacy or are they gross to eat? For me, I don't think so. And yeah, chocolate covered grasshoppers, I don't think so. And the chances are you didn't learn this through experience, okay? You learned it from a culture that taught you. So this isn't to say that you sat down and said, now, Susie, this is a grasshopper and it's good to eat and this is how you eat it. But rather, you were in a culture and you saw somebody eating a grasshopper as a delicacy, so you imitated it. It became a part of your culture. In the same way, you may have found a grasshopper in the yard when you were a kid and stuck it in your mouth, and then you found yourself surrounded by adults screaming at you and pleading with you, spit it out and call the doctor. Now you've just been taught to eat a grasshopper is bad. That's a different culture. Do you see where I'm going with this? To explore, to learn, to understand, to care enough to give a damn about the other. I am praying this makes sense. So in the same way then, nobody taught us to be in an exclusive community. We simply accepted our exclusive culture as natural. This is where we went. This is where we don't go. I told you before, when I was growing up, Merrick Road was the division. This was North Baldwin. This is where the good people lived. This was South Baldwin over here by the ocean. Now it's all waterfront property. This is the bad section. Now, I only lived 2 blocks on this side of Merrick Road, but I was still in the good section. This is the culture. This is how we were taught. My mother said white trash lived south of Merrick Road. The good people lived on the other side. Whoa. Whoa. No one taught us to be exclusive. We experienced it. We experienced it from our families, from our religions, from our schools, from our relatives, from where we grew up. We need to step over a line, and we need to meet more new people. We need to ask questions about people, and where they came from, and how they got there, and who their ancestors are, what are their cultures. And we need to share that with each other. So rather than one of multiple stories that we can live by, we call our story our reality with a little r. This is my life. And I'm saying step out of your life. Step into something new. People will cling to their rituals and their stories. So here's the thing. While culture maintains our behavior, the opposite is true. Behavior maintains our culture. It's easy to accept eating grasshoppers if you grew up eating grasshoppers. So let's look at it differently. In this example, let's talk about the caterpillar to the butterfly. The caterpillar is a consuming machine. Did you actually know that? That is their role. It's their primary function is to eat. Now, I didn't know this. I love learning new things. This is what I'm saying. I want all you guys to learn new things. The caterpillar is a consuming machine. When I was going for a big carb breakfast this morning, that kind of rolled through my mind, and I actually ate something healthy instead. But the caterpillar, its primary function is to eat. And when it's finally consumed all it can, it enters the chrysalis, where it dies. It literally dies and is transformed to a butterfly. And what goes on then in this chrysalis is not what comes out. It goes in with 18 crawling legs as an entire eating machine. And it leaves with 6 legs and wings. The caterpillar's digestive system is gone, and it's replaced, believe it or not, with a primary sexual reproduction system. So it eats its way into oblivion, and then to reproduce, it has to change into something else as a child changes into an adult. You can't tell me there isn't a God. There is nobody on earth who could have figured that out and created that. I'm telling you, oh, that's why I'm a minister. I forgot. Okay. So this is not a matter then of becoming a new and improved caterpillar, which is something completely unimaginable. The caterpillar doesn't know when it's eating its way into oblivion that it's going to come and be improved. So as the system then of the caterpillar is dying, the caterpillar will try harder and harder and harder to be a caterpillar, to do what is familiar. Just like the ant colony of a few weeks ago. when the queen ant, when her head was knocked off and they kept trying to feed her and bring her more eggs to fertilize. Just like the rabbits on Rabbit Island. And just like our breaker society, trying to create a world that they control. You see, no one is trying to make the breakers this enemy. We're talking about breaker consciousness. Breakers do what they do, as rabbits do what they do, as we do what we do, until it no longer serves the whole. It doesn't work anymore. Until what appeared to be a functional system becomes dysfunctional. Until the system implodes, which is what I believe is happening right now in our world. A space has to be made for something new to be born again. No one is trying to make the breakers enemies. Listen again, breakers do what breakers do, as rabbits do what they do, as we do what we do, until it no longer serves the whole. Until what appeared to be a functional system becomes dysfunctional. Until the system implodes. And then, by the grace of God, we begin to create a space for something new to be born. Cherie points out in the book that just as the caterpillar is imbued with imaginal cells, we too have within us an unawakened knowing. And it's just like this morning when I was journaling and speaking about heart and opening up. And then I said, God, what do I need to know today? And I just opened the daily word and it says, I give with a full heart. That's what I needed to know today. And then I prayed that whatever I said today then would be with a full heart. So we have within us an unwaking knowing. And when that begins to open up, and when you begin to get that final connection that you've never been separate from God, just perhaps dormant, the dormant cells of the caterpillar, that knows we can no longer be a breaker society. Wow. Wow. So within the caterpillar, these imaginal cells begin to fight off and destroy the cells of the caterpillar, regardless how healthy they may seem. A revolution is taking place. So it's not a bad thing until the caterpillar no longer exists and he's finally turned to mush. So I would suggest that our society is in a place of transformation. We could take the word revolution out, and it's part of the book and all of that, but we could take that word out and say that we are opening up to this gigantic transformation. Hear me, this is good. This is the good news. This is the greatest opportunity that 2020 is giving us. It's giving us a time of transformation. You know, we're back into higher COVID numbers again, and it's forcing us to be back in our homes more and away from people more. Use this time not to be anxious, not to be depressed, not to be sad. Use this time to learn something new. Use this time to read a book you wouldn't normally read. Use this time to look for documentaries of things that you could possibly learn. And some of this is uncomfortable, and I get it. And some of this distresses you, you know, and perhaps you'd like my talks to be more Pollyanna. But I used to be her, but that's not who I am anymore. My responsibility is to open my mind and to open your minds. And it's uncomfortable. And it feels like a revolution could be taking place. And things that we knew are falling apart and dying. And some of these things are political and religious and financial and other systems that are based on exclusivity need to die. They need to die. Transformation is necessary. We must transform the need to fight. We need to stop hating. We need to look at what needs to be renewed and rebuilt and changed. And stop saying no, it's impossible. Say yes, with God all things are possible. So while the caterpillar is trying to be more like a caterpillar, look what it transforms into a butterfly. The Menders Society suggests that when tradition is at the expense of an inclusive society, when it no longer serves the greater whole, it is time to change. Sharif suggests that the key awakening in the Menders spirit is compassion. Jesus taught us, do unto others as we would have them do to you, to seek understanding rather than making judgments. Such a hard one, such a hard one. To build connections and bridges instead of walls. To repeat, respect differences and boundaries without making enemies. Sharif calls compassion's love's verb. Compassion is grace, not an achievement. Its consistency does not ultimately depend on effort of will, but upon your relationship with Spirit. It all goes back to the one, the universal, the intelligence, love, God, Spirit, Holy Mother, Father, whatever you call it that resonates to you. Compassion cannot be taught. It's something that must awaken you. Until something awakens in us that causes us to change our breaker mentality and to have compassion for the other, then and only then can we begin to embrace the possibility of a world that works for all. It means we have to do something different. So as we go into a quiet time right now, I know that in these past 5 weeks, a lot has been shared. But I know that each word has come from Spirit. Each new thought, each awakening, each understanding is all part of the God that is in me, as me, is me. And I know for each one of us here right now and each one of us listening on live streaming, this is a good time. Because we don't look at the appearances, we look at what can be and know that it is already done in mind. We know that every prayer has been heard before the words were even spoken. And all inspiration from change, it comes from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, the action of God. So this week, I challenge you, and I challenge myself more, to be that beacon of truth, of light, of love, of wisdom, compassion, to feed everything around me with love, to be in holy, joyous celebration of life, to lift the veil that has been holding us down for the past 4 or 5 months and let a new light shine in. And asking myself and asking each one of you, what can I do to be that beacon of light? What can I do this very day? Perhaps just make a call to a friend who you haven't spoken to for a while. Share good news, not ain't it awful. So as my consciousness opens, as my love of God deepens, as the beauty of the world is ready to awaken around me and around all of us, I am in awe of God. I am in awe of that caterpillar and the transformation and the beauty of that butterfly. So I ask myself and I ask each one today to open up your wings and begin to soar and know the beauty of who and what you are. And for this, and for so much more, we are ever grateful. And in your minds and hearts and souls, say with me, so it is. Amen. It is done. Welcome back, all you beautiful butterflies. So I want to thank you. Obviously, you know, as the church doors are closed, you still have the mail. You can drop in, knock on the door, and Jules will take your love offering, or you can send it by PayPal. But just say with me in your mind, or just listen to these words of our offertory prayer. The love of God inspires me to give a spirit of generosity. And I give with love and joy to ensure the growth of this ministry and the Unity Center. And so it is, and thank you, God. Thank you, God, for the abundance that flows through us and to us. So, okay, so just a couple of announcements. The book club, the Zoom book club, the night class was closed. We were down to 2 people, and for it to be comfortable for me, I need 4 or more people. But the daytime one at 12 o'clock is open, and anyone of the night group that wants to join the day group can certainly do that. But most importantly, next Sunday is our annual meeting. We are not asking you to come in because of COVID, unless you so desire, but to please do the Sunday talk, listen to it live streaming, because the meeting will begin right after the Sunday talk is finished. So I don't want you to try to find it then and say, oh, I'm not going to do service. Why would you not want to do service? Oh my goodness, I can't even understand that at all. So be here at 10:30 sharp, have your coffee, have your jammies, and also know that we've sent out the ballots for our new board members, so please fill those out this week and send them back by a drop form. We're tabulating them in the office. And of course, we're all winners because we have 3 openings and we have 3 candidates. So it's really an easy vote for all of you. But next Sunday, please, we have 73 members in this community, in case you didn't know that. 73 members. Therefore, 73 members need to be listening to the annual meeting. Okay, guys, no guilt, not being pushy, just saying that we would like to see all of you on live stream tomorrow, next Sunday rather. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for being with us. I love you all. God bless. Be safe. Wear your mask. Stay home when you can. See you next week. Bye now.